Okay, so we're looking at the top part of the recorder now, and first impression is just really, it's extremely dirty. So first order of the day I think is to give it a really good clean. Let's just try and tidy it up. There's a little bit of flaky paint on this part of the chassis here that we might need to have a look at, just so it doesn't degrade further. But all the capstans seem to turn okay. The buttons are extremely stiff, so we'll have to have a look at the switch matrix underneath. The mechanism itself looks okay, and the good news is there's no flat spots on the drive, which quite often you see on these apparently, because the tape release gets sprung forward. It then just sits on this this main capstan here and then wears flat spots into the rubber. That doesn't appear to be a problem here. We're probably going to have to remove the head mechanism here, just so that we can get in and give it a good clean, but also because we're going to have to replace the coaxes to the play and the record head. So we'll have to have a look at how difficult or easy that is. But yeah, I think that's the first order of the day, is really just to give it a clean and a proper assessment of how we're doing. And what we'll do now is turn the unit over and we'll have a look at the underside. Okay, here's the underside. As you'd expect, a bit cleaner. The top certainly, although there's a fair bit of dust and a little bit of light grime that will need to be sorted out. There's quite a bit of dust and detritus on the switch matrix here, so that I think will need to be cleaned up. Other than that, it doesn't look too bad. There's a couple of capacitors that we need to be changed, more of those waxes. It's got two big power resistors, one here and one tucked underneath the main capstan motor. Those will need checking out. These are just effectively there to drop the voltage, but because the amount of voltage they drop, they do need to have an awful lot of wattage, so that's why they're so big. And if they are knackered, then they could be a potential problem just to replace. I think my main worry with this, however, is the wiring. The wiring, although it's reasonably flexible, I can see there has been some previous repairs on it here, and also down on the wiring down here does look a bit perished. Now I think we might have to look at replacing that, but that's not as simple as it might seem, because it is wiring direct into the motors themselves. So it may be that we're going to have to take the motors, or partially disassemble the motors, just so that we can fit new wiring. I'm going to have a look at that. We are going to have to do a bit of dismantling, because in order to get the play record head module out, it looks, unless we can get it out from the front, I'll need to look at that. We might have to actually disassemble the whole machine. I really don't want to do that, because there's springs, there's all sorts of things in these, and they're a real pain in the arse. But if we have to, we have to. So I need to do a bit more investigation on that. So much as the front, I think first thing to do is just to get it clean, and then we can start to do a bit of investigation and have a look and see what we've got to do. The rubber on the main flywheel here is very hard, and there is, you can't see this, but there's quite a lot of cracking around it. Again, I'm hoping that's going to be okay, but we might again need to see if there's something we need to do with that. Either just put a thin band around it, just so it helps with adhesion on the drives. Again, this is bonded, this rubber, so it's not a simple task to completely replace it, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, well, I'll bring you back when I've got more to report. Okay, so here we are back with the Truvox, and quite a bit of work has been done. First and most obviously, all of the wiring has been changed. The old wiring, as I suspected, was extremely degraded. The rubber coating for the wire is split, and indeed in some cases the actual cores are exposed, so all of that had to be changed. So everything, all the way from the switches to all the motors and all the power ins, have been changed for new wiring. We've changed out the capacitors as well for some new ones. We have also looked at the tread for the main flywheel. I think I said that it was extremely hard, this bonded rubber on the outside of the flywheel, and indeed had a lot of cracks on it. Now what you can't see here is the full extent of that. However, what I've done is first of all softened the rubber with some acetone. You need to be a bit careful with acetone, because if you put too much on, what it does is effectively eats away at the rubber, softens it. But if you put too much on, you can damage it. So just some very, very light applications of acetone. And then to stabilise it and to seal up some of the cracks on it, I've used some Plasti-Dip, very thin down Plasti-Dip, and just put a very light coat on that as well. And that's now made that much more pliable, hopefully stabilised it, and indeed it actually runs reasonably smoothly now. All the motors are fine. I was a little bit concerned because the wiring goes actually in and then bonds directly to the motor windings, but luckily I think those are actually all okay. And I've tried to stabilise the new wiring where it meets the old wiring with lots of heat shrink, so hopefully that'll be fine as well in the future. The switch matrix was very dirty, so all the contacts have been cleaned on that. It's actually quite clever. I did actually have to draw it all out just to see where all of the contacts were going. But effectively all it does is it just switches the AC to whichever motor is required for fast forward, rewind and play. The DC element that comes in is then switched so that when you want to stop one of those functions, it just applies then DC to the particular motors and effectively just breaks them. So that's quite a clever piece of kit there. Do be aware if you're working on one like this or one of these, that these are all elevated voltages in and around here. So you have both mains voltage and rectified DC of sort of 320 volts. So it is one place that you need to be aware. The only main issue we had is in the mechanism which engages the wipers on the record and playback head. These little arms here are activated when you apply the tape tensioner on, and the arms themselves and the springs were very degraded, so I've had to put together a bit of a bodge using some new springs. There's another one underneath the flywheel here for the other wiper. So it does work now. I think if this was a longer term or a better reconstruction, we would need to remake these little arms, because they do engage on pins on the bottom of this activating arm. But for this restoration, or this level of restoration, we've just had to use a selection of springs to bring the mechanism into tension both ways. One of the upshots of doing it this way though is that it can only be used now, this unit, with its 15.5 inch per second or whatever it is, or inch per minute setting. But that's a limitation of the amount of time and money we're going to spend on this unit. Okay, I think that's all on this side. I'll stop you now, turn the machine over and show you what I've done on the face of it. Okay, so the front, we're going to complete clean, so it's much nicer now, no gunk. I've had all of the rollers and capstan pins out and cleaned, lubricated them. We've had the record playback head mechanism out and attached new coaxes to that, so that's now ready to link back up with the amplifier section. All switch matrix buttons have been cleaned and lubricated, so they're all fine now. The tape release mechanism now works nicely. So you can see it, the wipers engage properly. The pinch roller engages nicely. There is a slight flat spot on the pinch roller. Remains to be seen whether that really affects the the way the machine plays back. We'll have to have a look at that. But overall, everything now mechanically is about as good as we can get it for this level of restoration. All the capstan spin freely. So I think we're at the stage now where we want to try and make the two halves together. And we'll see how it performs on record and playback. Okay, so that'll be the next video. Until then, yeah, I'll see you when I come back.